It is Powwow.
The Powwow with Mo podcast.
What up, and welcome to episode 10 of the Powwow with Mo podcast. I'm Mo.
I'm Powwow.
All right, we made it into the 10th episode.
Sweet double digits.
Yeah. Pretty excited about that. Starting
sure.
with the next episode, I'm going to actually try to come up with episode titles because I haven't done that so far. I've been really boring with it.
For sure.
Hopefully we say something funny enough to be a title in every episode.
Yeah.
All right, so Powwow, any current events?
Yeah, so I've got a few things. First I want to bring up is this thing that happened with Nick Lachey at his bar that he has. One of his employees was leaving the sports bar around 3 a.m. and was almost hit by a driver that was driving a van. They got into an argument, and that driver then shoots this woman in the face.
Who is this?
Let me see what her name. Ellie Richardson.
Who was the first person you mentioned to start this story?
Nick Lachey.
Okay.
It's his sports bar.
All right.
Okay. So this lady is leaving the bar. Again, she works there. And she is shot in the head. And I want to read the exact sentence from this article because I don't understand it. Richardson had a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the head. I just want to know what kind of gunshots to the head are non-life-threatening.
I mean, if it didn't hit the brain, I mean, it's happened.
For sure, but we're talking point-blank range.
Bad shot.
I don't know, but he put out a tweet about it on Saturday that helped Ellie and her family get through this most difficult time. But it is crazy that this lady was shot after almost being hit by somebody who was not driving properly and almost hit her. Then gets upset because they don't know who this person is,
right?
And then just shoots her square in the face.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Pretty nuts.
I saw where a federal judge permanently blocked the executive order that was denying funds to sanctuary cities.
Yes.
Basically, they just said it has to come from Congress and not the president. So to me, that just means that Congress would just have to do it. Now, I know it's hard for Congress to do anything, so maybe that is a win for people that are against it. I don't know, but I saw where that was on the news.
Yeah. And something else that happened this week in Egypt was the mosque that was attacked. Unfortunately, 305 people were killed, including 27 children, and then another 126 injured. Now, this was carried out between 25 and 30 militants carried out the actual attack. They do not know if it was ISIS or Al-Qaeda affiliates. They have not determined who it is, but they said that it does bore the hallmarks of both of those two extreme groups. It's just crazy to me that the sheer number of people that were killed, because what happened is they set off an explosion inside of the mosque to have people then run out. While they were running out is when they were shooting these people.
I mean, it's a quote-unquote good plan, right? Like, I understand it's not good they did it, but yeah, that's effective.
The idea of
it's effective for sure.
It is pretty nuts because there was 5 ATVs that positioned themselves around the main entrance and then just opened fire on them. And it says they also torched 7 cars parked outside.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they're just like the little finger of the world.
Yeah.
You know, they climb the ladder of chaos is their goal, I guess. I don't know. I think eventually maybe their goal is that they just get their own country.
Maybe. I don't understand. I mean, and again, they don't know who this was, but security forces on Saturday with Egypt's military carried out airstrikes in the mountainous areas around the mosque and hit several vehicles in the vicinity of the attack, killing all passengers. Again, I don't know if these are the people that had attacked them or they were just like, you know what, you were close enough, you look like you were bad guys, we're just going to take you out to say that now you're done.
I mean, it's probably all stems from our drone attacks over the last 10 years. I mean, we're always killing all kinds of innocent people just so we get the one guy. And then that's going to affect a lot of people living in these areas because they probably know these innocent people. And then you're just making enemies for life sort of thing. So it's just kind of the way the world is at the moment. I mean, we'll see.
For sure. And one thing that I do find, because I've just not paid attention to the news enough to know this, but the president there in Egypt said now we're going to have 3 days of mourning. I just don't know if we've ever had anything like that whenever any devastation has happened, like anything with obviously the towers in New York or the Sandy Hook or this Las Vegas. Just never heard a president say, we're going to have 3 days of mourning for all of these people.
Yeah, well, I mean, American culture in general is about getting up and get going. You know, I mean, that just, so it doesn't really fit with us as much to do that. I did see where a study found that expecting mothers who sleep on their backs doubled their risk of stillbirth.
Really?
So the researchers conducted a study in the UK, and they looked at 1,000 British women in their third trimester and their sleeping habits, and they estimate that 130 lives could be saved each year in the UK if all pregnant women slept on their sides and not their backs.
That's crazy. I mean, I know my wife, when she was pregnant with both of them, luckily we had a body pillow, and that's what she just slept on her side without having any complications. So that's pretty interesting to read.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, another Hollywood actor, they came out and said that he had some sexual misconduct, and it is our fellow fraternity brother, Jeremy Piven from Entourage.
I mean, that one's not surprising to me at all, because if you've watched Entourage, Entourage portrays behind the scenes stuff is like, and I felt like they portrayed that way because they all lived it. You know what I mean? I
mean, I know there was someone in here who was some talent agent bringing in extras and stuff where people, apparently there was plenty of women that refused to do anything on the podcast, or excuse me, anything on the episodes of Entourage because they were saying things like, hey babe, hey sexy, bring that ass over here, and things like that. But it's just nuts to hear that that is what was going on, and it was never really talked about up until obviously now.
Well, again, it's a fine line, because if it's them, I don't know, I guess some of the way I see it is, like, let's say the actors who portray the main people on Entourage, if they are trying to flirt or throw their game, however you want to look at it, to try to get these women's attention, to me it's just, well, that's how they tried and they fail or succeed on it. So I guess if, like, no one was in a paid situation and they were just somewhere, it's okay, but because you're at a work set, it's not, and that's fine if that's the rule. I just think gotta, like, establish those lines.
For sure. And I mean, we watched obviously Entourage, and we seen the women, how they were dressed throughout a lot of those episodes.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't blame that.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the way that those scenes were, the way that they were acting on those scenes.
Right.
If someone was to stay in character like a lot of these actors do whenever they get into their character, I could see a few of them mentioning that. But again, I find it strange because on this thing with Jeremy Piven, the first thing that he provides is a lie detector test, saying that he didn't do it, and the lie detector test said that he didn't do it.
They're only 80% accurate, but...
And the only problem is he did this on his own prior to all of this stuff coming out.
Right.
So it's almost like he set this up to make sure that he was good to go.
Right.
And I mean, I want to believe that some of these people are not doing this because it's just bad in general, obviously. But
well, to me, I mean, and again, I don't know the details of the story, but if Jeremy Piven, an actor, is doing this to another actor, to me, that's different than it being like a Harvey Weinstein or someone who has hiring ability over you. And maybe he would be able to get someone fired. So maybe that is a reasonable thing or whatever. But I don't know. To me, it's different than the whole systematic, you want to work your way up through the top, this is how you have to do it. Maybe this is the exact same thing, and it just seems kind of different to me.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I fully talk about the story with regards to, there was 3 women who have said Jeremy Piven has sexually harassed them or assaulted them. Now this goes...
Well, see, to me, sexually harassing and assaulting
are 2 different things.
Pretty different.
For sure. But the earliest one starts in 1995, and the most recent one was in 2009. So that's a huge gap there. So I don't know, what all he did. I know with this one, it was down a dark hallway. Allegedly, he had groped a woman, and then an assistant walked by, and he said, hey, she tried to touch me. I need you to kick her off set. Yeah,
it doesn't sound great.
No. But I don't know. It really sucks to see this. Almost every day there's a new actor, somebody that... And I mean, there's always been stories of, Hollywood cover-ups. And
I mean,
things
also
like that.
This week, the whole Charlie Rose thing, and I actually really like Charlie Rose. to me, what's funny about the Charlie Rose scenario is that John Oliver, a show everyone should watch, and it's still crazy that you have not watched John Oliver because you would love it. But he does this whole and now this segments, which would just be like random things the show put together. Mm-hmm. And for a while, it was like every other week, it felt like they did this one where Charlie Rose is sexually creepy towards the women, like on live TV with the Good Morning America or whatever ABC's or CBS's show's called. Mm-hmm. And so to watch that for a couple years, and then it comes out that, he was second. And I was like, well, of course, because all the John Oliver segment, like, I don't know, it just wasn't surprising.
Yeah.
But I really like Charlie Rose, and he is another one that has had these allegations, which are most likely true. But I think at the moment you have to say allegations.
For sure.
Anything else going on in the world?
I don't know what ended up happening with this, but one thing I had read about was that millions of Dish customers were not going to be able to watch football on Thanksgiving. So I don't know if that ended up happening or not, but it's because they lost the channel CBS.
We had it. I mean, my mom has Dish, and they wanted to watch the parade, and it was on CBS.
Because what they were doing is they were giving people digital antennas to be able to watch CBS during Thanksgiving to make sure that you were able to do that.
That's cool. Those are expensive. They're giving them for free.
For sure. And they were giving them out to anybody, obviously the Dish subscriber. But again, with each side blaming each other, Dish Network saying it's CBS's fault, that they're asking too much money, and CBS saying that they're offering a fair deal, and Dish Network's not accepting it. The same thing with every other channel that happens on any of these cable networks.
See, what I want to happen in the TV network world, because currently right now you can kind of do it, but not really. So I watch like the Comedy Central app, right? Like on a Roku or on your phone or whatever. I could have you log in with your DirecTV thing, and I could watch it. But if I didn't have anything to log into, I couldn't watch it. And to me, I can't. And maybe it's because for so long people have paid for cable and satellite. But like right now, if you wanted to listen to the radio, you can just turn on the radio. It's just free.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you can listen to something in there. And those people make money because of those ads. So I guess what I would like to happen is anyone can get an app and can watch a TV channel anywhere. It doesn't cost any money. But then they just sell their ad space. And then if I could watch all the channels through stupid apps and things without having cable, I would. And then I would be a person that would watch their ads. So I don't know if that ever happens. Probably not. But it would be super awesome. So before we get into our top 5 list, I feel like we should at least kind of cover over, it was Thanksgiving this last week since our last episode. So we had some things I'm sure happen a little bit.
Yeah.
So any highlights from your Thanksgiving?
Well, I was going to go, like I had mentioned, to go get that pistol from Academy. However, the ridiculous line that you had to get into just to get into the store.
Don't get in the way of Oklahomans in their clearance deals on guns.
For sure. I mean, it is quite crazy the amount that was there. I'm trying to pull it up here, but I know there was over 200,000 gun checks done just this past Black Friday, which beats all other Black Fridays. I think the last year's was the highest with like 181 or 183,000 people that had to be checked for it. But I found it crazy that there was this many. It was 203,086 for national instant criminal background checks compared to the 185,713 last year.
Yeah, we got to arm up,
Exactly. I mean, and
here's what it is. See, for the last 8 years before Trump, all of the conservatives were arming up because Obama was taking the guns, right? Mm-hmm. Clearly, that's what his goal was. And now that there's a Republican in office, Democrats are now like, we got to go get some guns. And then the conservatives are like, well, they can have more guns than us.
So they got to go get guns.
It's the revolving door of everyone needs guns.
And I mean, I think it is crazy, especially with all of the deals that these places are giving on Black Friday with guns. I mean, they're marking them down like, a couple $100 from, it would be $400 or $500, and it's now $299 or $199 for a gun. And people just want to go spend it. Again, I wanted to do that, but I was not about to get in that craziness.
What if the North Koreans landed here? You got to protect your country.
Is this what, Red Dawn?
Yeah, Red Dawn 2.
Yeah, terrible movie, by the way. I'm not really worried about that right now. But it was kind of crazy. But I did get to go out still. We went. My grandfather got some safes, and we had a great Thanksgiving with both of my families. Got to see both sides. One of them I haven't seen most of the year, and my cousin Tristan, who's a freshman, is like 6'1".
Yeah, I remember when he was a little skinny.
Yeah, I mean,
5-year-old.
I mean, he's pretty skinny still, but he is just massively tall now. But being able to talk with all of them and my kids being able to see all of them was pretty nice. That was a good time.
Right on. Yeah, I done the whole 2 Thanksgivings. The first one, I didn't have stovetop in my mom's Thanksgiving because I guess from our podcast, Rusty let his mom know, or maybe my mom let her know that she was going to make stovetop, and then Penny was like, well, how about I'll make dressing? And she accidentally used Mexican cornbread. So she was like real worried about it, and she didn't tell us until after we ate it. And I was just like, oh, it tastes fine to me.
Yeah.
Like a little different, but it wasn't bad. And then finally, my Aunt Vicky, which I'm sure you remember, was like, tell them what happened. And so she explained the Mexican cornbread. But really, I mean, I didn't hate it. So that meal was all right. And then came back Thanksgiving Day, was going to do the Black Friday thing to go get some video games. But then on the PlayStation, they had a sale, like a pre-Black Friday sale that was just as cheap or cheaper than any of the stores. So I was like, well, I'm just going to order these online and just get them digitally, and I'll get into those. And then we did Thanksgiving at my wife's grandparents' house, and it was delicious. And I just went there for the day and came back.
I am glad you brought up dressing because that it's funny that I was talking with my grandmother about it because her favorite thing is also dressing or stuffing.
Yeah, it's everybody's favorite. It's what I'm learning.
And so I have my dad's family's first is at 4:00. So then my grandmother's is at 6:30. And that earlier that day we talked about the podcast live, and she agreed with most of it. And the thing that was funny is we talked about how we're ready for this dressing on Thanksgiving night.
Right.
So I eat very little at my grandmother's house, especially the dressing. I'm always talking to my grandma's. I'm so ready for it. So I get all the food laid out. Where's the dressing? And she goes, oh, I didn't make it. And she goes, I cut up everything. I've got the celery cut up. It's all ready to go, but I just forgot to make it.
That's awesome.
And so then she goes, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I will make it tomorrow for you. Deal. Okay, let's have this tomorrow. We'll have a third Thanksgiving. I'm fine with that. So we get ready to eat. Again, this is Black Friday, so me and my pops ran around. We had stuff going on.
Right.
And I'm ready for some dressing again. Sure enough, she did not make it again. And so when we went to Golden Corral on Saturday, I had myself almost a half a plate of dressing while I was there just to make up for not getting it on Thanksgiving or the day after.
I mean, that's super funny, and it is very fitting for your grandma to do that.
For sure.
So, when I went to Waurika to see my parents for Thanksgiving, I also saw my grandparents. And when I was at their house, I saw a show that this will kind of lead into our top 5 a little, barely. But our top 5 is top 5 favorite reality TV shows. So I saw a new reality TV show that I'm sure you've seen a lot of. But I've watched a lot of episodes in a 24-hour period of Thanksgiving, which was Forged in Fire.
Yep, I've watched that quite a bit.
I've never heard of it. I was at my grandparents, and there was the Forged in Fire Thanksgiving Marathon. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Like, when we get to my list, I mean, well, at least one thing I'll have is I really like competition reality shows. It is no drama. It's just like, I mean, it's chopped, but they take it into everything, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Forged in Fire is chopped for people who make weapons out of steel.
It is.
And I really enjoy that format. And so I watched a bunch there, and then I came and got on the History Channel app, and then I just watched some more there. Big fan of this Forged in Fire show.
It's
I don't know
pretty
if I'm
good,
watching
isn't
all,
it?
but it is pretty fun. I like the one that had like the crazy Asian dude who never used machines before.
And they're all by hand. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some pretty good ones. So getting on this History app and then watching that show, seeing commercials, I saw a commercial for The Curse of Oak Island. And Oak Island would come up on Ancient Aliens on an episode. It's come on a few things I've watched, right? And it's like the Knights Templar hid something and booby trapped the island. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like the actual facts, not like the crazy History Channel trying to convince you of stuff, are pretty insane. So I've been watching some of that show. It's pretty good. Maybe I'll get into more random history show stuff. I know Vikings about to start back, but I didn't watch the last season.
I stopped, and this is spoiler alert. So if you watch Vikings, mute the next 15 seconds.
Well, they're giving away on all the commercials for the next season, what you're about to say. I already know.
Yeah, when Ragnar died.
Because the whole previews are like, who takes the throne? And it's his sons and stuff. So.
But what was crazy about that is that's honestly the next episode I stopped watching it. It's
the same with my wife in Nashville. Whenever Connie Britton, whatever her character's name is on Nashville, died. Spoilers for Nashville. QB was just like, no, I'm not watching it anymore.
I know.
We haven't watched it.
I've got to because I loved the Vikings. But it was crazy. I mean, we could talk about that later on. But yeah, I am ready to watch some of those new episodes. I've just got to finish up on the end of last. Because I knew eventually he would die, but I didn't want it to happen just yet.
Right.
I wanted to obviously be a season finale, not like 3 episodes before the season finale type thing.
Right.
But it was a little crazy.
Okay, so 3 games I bought.
Okay.
So there was a big deal, like I said, pre-Black Friday deal on the PlayStation Store. Mm-hmm. Lots of games I wanted, some games that I already had. So I was like, God damn it. If I would have just waited a couple months to buy these, could have got them cheaper sort of thing. 3 games I got this game called Valkyria Chronicles, which I believe was a PlayStation 2 game that they've just re-released on the PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. It was like $12 or something like that. Honestly, remember me talking about that Ogre Battle 64 game? Mm-hmm. This is probably the closest thing to it I've seen, but then again, it was made closer to that time period.
Yeah.
But like, you're on an overhead map and you choose a unit and you move it around. But it's like a shooter, but also like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's like Final Fantasy Tactics mixed with a Call of Duty shooter sort of game. It's a weird turn-based, but you're firing guns sort of gameplay.
Gotcha.
But it's actually been pretty good. Lots of little cartoon cutscenes and things like that. The art style is pretty cool. So I got that game. I got a game called Nier Automata, which came out earlier this year. And it's got like 9s and 10s across the board, this game. So that's what originally piqued my interest. Mm-hmm. I look up all these reviews because I struggled. I stared at the screen for like 2 hours looking at all the different games on these deals to figure out what I was going to get. And I was looking up all these reviews, and like everyone's like, the game's just amazing. It's amazing. Greatest game ever. And I was like, man, this game's crazy. So I started that game. It's so hard to explain that I pulled up this thing that kind of half explained the first level. You don't get to save until after you beat the first boss, which I kind of hate in games because like you die and it just restarts the game.
That's a little strange
because you haven't beat the first boss yet.
I mean, I guess it's kind of old school with regards to you don't have a save point or anything.
I beat it in my 3rd attempt. I beat the boss, but there's a lot there. So
does it take a lot to get to the first boss?
Yeah, it's 30 minutes to an hour.
Jeez.
30 minutes to an hour to get there. And when I finally beat it, I was like half asleep. But the way they describe in this little article I found is the best way to describe it. Then I'll kind of go into detail. Is on the first stage, it goes from a 3D asteroids game to a third-person hack and slash to a top-down bullet hell to a side-scroller before you ever get to the first boss.
What?
So like when you start out, you remember like those old games on Nintendo or Super Nintendo where like ship at the bottom of the screen
mm-hmm.
and you shoot bullets and like things are coming down from the top of the screen at you.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like I don't know what those were called, but it starts off like that, the gameplay. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't just pay like a AAA game that's this, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then at one point in time when you're flying, it switches up to an overhead camera. Your jet transforms into like a robot. And then it's a top-down twin-stick shooter where, like, you move with this one and you shoot with this one. And you're like, oh, shit. So that's a whole other gameplay thing. And then you crash into a building, land, and then it's a third-person action game like a Dynasty Warriors, right? Like square, square, triangles, heavy attack, squares, normal attack.
Yep.
You're a crazy robot android lady, and you have these swords. But then also, there's a robot that floats around.
This game is so complicated.
Right. And on this robot, if you hit R1, it shoots. Like a
missile?
More like No, like just steady bullets, but it's kind of
Okay.
like, in the arcades, like the gun games.
Yep.
It's like that, but you're also this girl attacking. So like you can just back up and shoot and like hold R1 and it'll just shoot bullets constantly from your little robot thing, or you can get up close or both, right?
That's so crazy. It seems awesome,
But
it's crazy.
It is crazy. And then the story's always, it's like set 2,000 years in the future when robots took over Earth and now we're on like a floating satellites trying to take it back. They've made android people. It's like you're a human, but like most of your body's robotic. I don't really know. I'll get to the story and see. And apparently you need to beat the game 3 times to get the full story.
What? 3 times?
So right now I'm a robot or android named 2B. And then this younger dude robot android named 9S is with me. But apparently when you beat it with 2B, the next time you start a game, you play as 9S through the story. And then if you beat it with him, you play it as through someone else through the story. So we'll see if I stick around that much. It's cool. It's a cool game. And when it switches styles like that so often, it is really odd. Like you'll go through like a third person, like I said, Dynasty Warriors, to like you'll hit a hallway and all of a sudden now it's like a platform shooter. Like you can't, it like goes flat-ish.
Yeah.
Like it's still like 3D, but you can't move the camera, so it looks flat. And you're like in a hallway shooting at people coming back and forth. So
what's the name of the game called?
Near Automata.
Near Automata?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that game's crazy. And then the other game I bought because Koopy convinced me to do it is The Sims 4 on PS4.
All right.
Because Koopy plays The Sims 4 on our laptop all the time.
Crazy.
Right. And I haven't played much of 4. I really like 2. 2's the best one. 3's pretty good. 4 is okay. But I've started playing that, and really it's because I looked at the trophy list, and there's one trophy. Well, to back up a little bit, the difference between me and Koopy playing Sims is Koopy will be like, I want to build a house and decorate it. And she does, right?
Yep.
And it looks really good.
That's her first thing.
And then she'll move her people in. They'll have a kid. That kid becomes an adult, and she's like, I'm done. And then she starts with builds a new house and stuff, right? And I just never play like that. Nothing wrong with it.
No.
But there's a trophy on the PS4 where to live through 26 generations. So like my goal, because my name's Aaron, starts with an A, I'm gonna have a kid with a B. That kid will have a C.
Yeah.
And I'll do that through the whole alphabet, and then see if I can do this whole thing in one house. Oh, also I don't use cheats. And Koopy's all like, well, you just put in this code and it gets you all the money.
Yeah.
And you can make an awesome house. I'm trying not to use any cheats.
Okay.
So really, I'm just gonna play that game to kind of. The other games I got are a little more action paced. At least the Near Automata games, very go, 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 right? So Sims is like a slow change of pace. We're just going to hang out here, try to work on our jobs and our skills.
I gotcha.
So and that one wasn't even on sale because it was new, but I saved so much on the other games I bought, I convinced myself, like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get one.
Go ahead and get one.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the games that I've been playing. And the games I wanted to get Persona 5 really, really bad because I liked Persona 4 on the Vita a lot. It's a super weird Japanese game, though. So since I was already getting Near Automata, which is a weird Japanese game, I was like, I don't need 2 weird Japanese games.
Yeah.
And then Final Fantasy 15, it was on sale down to like $20, which I think would be a good price point. But again, I look at that game and I'm like, I just don't think I like it. It looks like Assassin's Creed or like Dynasty Warriors. Like it's just an action game. And to me, now what Final Fantasy is, so it's really hard for me to, I feel like I'm just going to get it and get pissed. So I just haven't bought it.
Haven't got it yet.
And then Far Cry Primal was like $15 and I almost got that. I know you like Far Cry a lot.
Yep.
I haven't played it in a while, but the ones with the cavemen and stuff look pretty cool.
Hopefully it's better than Far Cry 4.
I think the map's actually the exact same.
Is it?
They just retextured it, like where mountains are and stuff. Like people that played both of them were like, after a while, you're like, oh shit, this is the same map.
Okay.
But you just don't. They use it differently.
And you don't have a fucking elephant to drive around and just destroy everything with.
Right. I mean, I think you have the whole thing of Primal, I believe, at least from the trailer, is you take over animals and they're your friends.
I got you. I mean, and you could do some of that in Far Cry 3 and whatnot. One thing I do want to bring up before we get into top 5 is old people using voice to text. So my grandmother and my grandfather both use it on a consistent basis. And so this is just one small example of what is sent So my grandmother last night texted me and says, "Just lock the doorknob, don't lock the bolt lock, thank you." So I sent a Bitmoji of me up out of a tank that says, "Yes, ma'am," with the salute. And this is her voice to text, says, "To let you know, what are you? Can lock the door knockers. I don't know if we have the key. I love you, honey. Good night." So I surmise out of that something about Luke's, there's a key to, but I am just busting trying to read through what she is telling me. Because again, she sends these things quite frequently.
Well, as loud as your family is, I don't know how it doesn't pick her up.
Right? And it's funny because when you've heard me being on a phone call, I get very loud. When she uses voice to text, she's as loud as I am almost. Voice to text, she gets down really low. For whatever reason, that's what she likes to do.
Well, I just think the concept of voice to text is funny because, all right, because it's in full circle.
Yep.
Like, you used to call people, and then you're like, I'm not going to take the time to call, not wasting my voice.
I'm text
it.
You. Yep.
And now it's like, I still want to text, but I don't actually want to type it, so I'm going to talk. When it's like, just call somebody.
But all the way around.
I don't know. It's crazy.
I mean, it just cracks me up. I mean, another one she sent me, I was going to get groceries, and she says, Dan, by the way, her and my family are one of the very few people that can call me Dan, and I just don't wig out. She said, Dan, you should have groceries and came home. Do you haven't already? Again, this is the kind of things that I have to try to use some special code to figure out what she's talking about. But I just want to say, please stop using voice to text and just text people if you don't have time or if you're driving in a car. Wait till you get home and then send me the text message.
Honestly, nothing's that important.
No. I mean, I've seen the signs where it says, it's better left unread than dead. And
like those are blunt and to the point.
Exactly. Like they're very morbid about it for sure. But I just wanted to bring that up, that if you're using voice to text and you don't check your phone before you send it and you just hit send, just stop doing it and just text somebody.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll do our top 5.
All righty.
All right, and we're back.
All right.
So, top 5 list got pushed back a little bit in here. We're about to get to it. Powwow, what's the first thing you need to tell them?
First thing is, if you have any crazy Black Friday things or Thanksgiving things that happened and you would like for us to discuss it, or if you have any topics, suggestions, or questions, please email us at thepowwowwithmo@gmail.com. That is THEPOWWOWWITHMO@gmail.com.
All right. Okay, so we're doing top 5 favorite reality shows. We've already done top 5 favorite TV shows. Mm-hmm. We kind of just said don't include reality shows. I don't know if any would have made it, really. In my mind, they really are. Scripted versus unscripted are two totally different things.
For sure.
And reality shows covers a really wide variety of stuff these days. It's not just real world, right?
Yeah.
So there's actually, while making my list, there were a lot of things that I was like, oh man, there's a lot of shows I actually like more than I would give credit to normally in the reality show realm. But I think there is a difference when you're watching those compared to like a script. Like just how you, like if I'm watching like Mad Men or whatever, I'm like, I need to pay attention to things that are going to tip me off of the story because the creator's trying to say something.
For sure.
But reality shows are more of like, you're hanging on to like, oh, what's it going to be? Right?
Johnny Banana's going to go crazy.
Right. So there is something different about it for sure. I do have a number 5 that is something I just watched.
All right.
So that's kind of strange, but
I mean,
think
if you like it.
So anyway, let's go ahead and get started, Powell. What is your number 5?
So my number 5, close between 5 and the one that had to go off, is Extreme Makeover Home Edition.
I thought about it. It is on my honorable mentions list for sure.
It is one of the few shows.
Just for fun, because we have so many. What was your number 6?
Bill Dance Outdoors.
Okay, my number 6 was American Chopper. And I just want to talk about it eventually. So once they're done, we're going to come back. So I want to fully talk about
We can talk about that for sure. For sure. But Extreme Makeover Home Edition, I don't know what it was. I think it was obviously, a lot of these families that obviously needed help.
Well, I think Ty, at least at the beginning, Ty was really cool host.
For sure. He was always
But
always
now
happy.
he for real looks 60.
Yeah.
Dressed like a 20-year-old. Back when he was 40, dressed like a 20-year-old, you couldn't tell.
Now he does those mortgage commercials or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, I just loved being able to see, especially anyone that was in need, being able to see them get the help that they should, or someone who's helped other people.
I will say one of the first big pushers of reality TV in my memory were those old TLC shows like Trading Spaces and things like that, were all these home renovation shows, which I don't have any HGTV shows on my top 5, but I could. Like, a lot of those shows I will binge watch all day if doing nothing else. Like, I'm not above that. But Extreme Makeover Home Edition was the first one that was on network TV with a huge budget, and they put a lot of production value into it.
Yep.
And they always chose the saddest fucking people and try to make you cry.
And they did. I mean, that's one of the few shows that I don't know how many times I have cried on, and I just don't cry a lot. But that show, and as soon as they open up the house and you see those people like fall to their knees, like that's what, bam, hits me right in the feels.
Right.
I'm losing it at that point.
Now, I did always wonder, watching those, like, can they afford the insurance? Can they afford the bills? How much is it going to cost for this stuff? That house is 4 times the size of their old house.
I mean, that ran through my mind because a couple of times they're like, we will pay for your mortgage and insurance for the next year or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, that's a hell of a lot of money that they're having to pay. And my grandfather was actually luckily able to do one of these by helping out obviously with concrete work. But he had told me, because I didn't know how fast paced it actually was, because they do it in a week. It's a legitimate week. Now, granted, 90% of the house is built, then brought on site. They put it together, and it's fine. But he said that he put down a shovel, was fixing his concrete, turned right around, less than 10 seconds later, and someone had already picked up the shovel and put it back where the shovels go. He goes, there's people everywhere. Because normally a concrete to do a slab of a house, I mean, your setup and pouring and being done is a couple of days at least.
Right.
At least. This was done in 4 hours. So, I mean, the magnitude of people that had to help. And this wasn't done because they were paid for it. This was something that they volunteered to do.
Right.
But it's really awesome. I really like that show. But that is my number 5. What is yours?
Mine is Nathan For You.
Nathan For You?
Which I talked about last week.
Yep.
I watched all 4 seasons in about a week.
Oh, my gosh.
They're short seasons. They're like 8 episodes each.
Okay.
The last so good that, like, I've still been thinking about it. It's been like 4 or 5 days since I watched it. And it's not even like, so it's like kind of like a prank show, right? Mm-hmm. I would put this in the vein of the hidden camera sort of, or just like the interviewing people on the street sort of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how much of it's real and how much is fake. Maybe a lot of people are in on it, right? And it just seems like just he is. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But it is just a show where I'm like, well, I'm watching the next one. I'm watching the next one. And then while watching each episode, like each premise he has, you're like, well, I got to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like it has a very good job of like, well, I got to see this through. I think you would really like it. Like I mentioned last week, it's not exactly like Impractical Jokers. That has its own like game showy aspect to it. But it has the whole he's going up to people that own a business and he's like, let me do this thing. That'll help. Like he convinced a yogurt shop to sell poop flavored yogurt because it would drive up traffic. And it did. Like he wasn't wrong. But of course it was disgusting.
For sure.
I don't know. There's just some really good episodes.
Was there somebody who actually ordered it?
Oh, a lot of people came in and tried it.
That's crazy.
And they were all like, "Oh yeah, it's really bad," because they got it. They got the flavored.
It's called poop flavored yogurt.
They like got the flavor to match like dog poop or smell or something. Like it was
so
great.
Nasty.
It was crazy.
That's so bad, man.
The last episode, or something kind of goes through the whole thing, is that like there is a through line of it's that the Nathan character, which is the guy's name, the guy who created the show, he's just awkward. So like almost everything. A lot of the humor comes from how awkward he is, and he's not good with like women around people, and he's always like almost every episode he asks someone like, well, you want to get a drink after this, and they're always like, no, I'm good, because he's just weird. So like they keep this thing throughout. So in the last episode he has this Bill Gates impersonator from season 1 gonna help him find his like long lost love, more or less. And then at some point in time, Nathan hires an escort so they can role play and practice out stuff or something to that extent. And the old man doesn't want to do it, so Nathan starts hanging out there. And then he starts like dating her, but like paying all this money to. And you don't know if it's him doing it for the show to be funny, or if it's like, no, he's really bad with women, and this is how he's gonna. And he's pretty upfront that like that's why. I don't know. It's captivating, I guess is the right word. Yep. So it's funny, but it also has like a weird artsy feel of like, I don't really know exactly what's going on when I'm watching it, but I like it. For sure. So I don't know if it really deserves my number 5 because it is pretty new to me watching it, but I like it enough. I was going to put it up there, and I kicked off American Chopper for it.
For sure. All right. So my number 4, now this is the previous version with Joe Rogan, is Fear Factor.
I love Joe Rogan. Fear Factor was on my list of things to consider. I mean, Fear Factor was great at the time. It really was. I have nothing bad at all to say about Fear Factor.
I don't watch the new ones with Ludacris on it. I have not watched any of those.
I just found out that was a thing like 2 days ago.
Oh, really? See, I had seen he had it on there, but I just remember when I was younger just nonstop watching it and waiting for, whoever it was, a fear is not a factor for you.
Right.
But just the crazy things people do. Obviously, I'm terrified of spiders. It's like when they had to put that head in the jar and all the tarantulas growing, I would just lose. Like, there's no way I could do that. And so then it always made me think, do they ask you, what are your fears? And do some people lie? Like, for instance, I will go, my fear is snakes.
Right.
So then I could just be put in a bucket of snakes and I'd be perfectly fine with it. But then they going to call you and go, look, you didn't freak out at all. But you said that was your number 1 fear.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always just wondered some of those, but I liked Fear Factor because of the crazy things people would have to do. Some of them weren't near that crazy.
Well, and it was a mixture, so it also had like crazy challenge stunts. Yeah, it wasn't just like sitting in a tub of snakes.
No, like there was one where you had to drive a car into the back of a moving truck,
right,
and land it, and it's like that's kind of death-defying at the point.
Right.
But
see, I love Joe Rogan. Like I listened to one of the ones recently I listened to. He actually talked about the reason the show got canceled was because they made people have to choose between mule urine and mule semen.
It's so crazy.
And some about that got him canceled. Because his comment he was making was most of the women all said semen, but the men wouldn't. They would all take urine. And I thought that was fairly funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved Fear Factor. I mean, I used to watch it almost every week.
Mm-hmm.
It was just good.
For sure. All right, so what do you have as number 4, Mo?
All right, my number 4 is MTV's Made.
Okay.
So back in the day, like I didn't get MTV till quite a while. Like I had it when I was real young, and then our cable company in my hometown canceled it for Turner Classic Movies. So then I just didn't have MTV for a really long time. And then when we got it back, I was 15, 14, something like that. And I just really liked Made. I think the thing that makes it cool and made it worth my top 5 is it was like a new reality show every episode.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I want to be made into, and you fill in the blank.
Yep.
So I had the one where like the white kid wanted to be a rapper, and they had, I mean, there were so many of them.
There was a lot, yeah.
Like, guy wants to become an MMA fighter, guy wants to be a comedian, like, girl wants to be a cheerleader. They shouted so many, and it was really interesting every time. And
it was.
Again, with every reality show, you have to be like, I don't know how much of this is real or not, but I really liked it. If they're running a Made marathon on MTV one day, I'm going to sit and watch all of them.
For sure.
So I just really like Made. I don't think there was a whole lot in that vein.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of too many. Like for most of mine on here, I'm be like, well, there was other shows like it, but this was the theme instead of this. But it's like the same show. I can't think of too many shows like Made necessarily. So
for sure.
I think it was at least a little unique.
All right.
All right, you're number 3.
Number 3, I have The Challenge.
Thought about it, but honestly, there was only like a 5-year window there out of their 20-year history that I watched The Challenge.
I mean, I watched it when I was going from junior high with my Aunt Maria up until recently. The things that happened on that crack me up. Like I said, with Johnny Bananas, CJ, all those, especially the older ones,
right?
They are the ones who made it for me. I don't remember the guy's name. He was a bigger guy with red hair, and it was at the final challenge where there's 5
Big
people.
Easy.
That may have been
Eric.
Eric, that was it. and they were having to run, and Johnny Bananas was voted off right before then.
Right.
And he goes, "You all are going to lose this competition because of him. He cannot fulfill this final competition." What happened in the middle of it? He has some.
Yeah, I remember all that.
The medical people, and then they end up getting there and getting it done first. But then they go, "Sorry, you didn't finish with all of your people. You lose."
Yep.
And so it's like Johnny Bananas was correct to be able to do it. But I just remember, I said CJ, CT. CT finally got his win, I don't know, 3 years ago or whatever, and he'd been doing it for freaking 25 years. Finally was able to get a win. But I just like the craziness that happens with those people.
Well, they give a bunch of people alcohol in a enclosed
Exactly.
cabin.
And eventually,
like, let's see what happens.
Especially whenever they have like the X's going against each other. Like,
Right.
It's like, that is just so bad of an idea, but it's awesome for the viewers.
Right. I mean, I kind of look down on a lot of MTV reality show stuff, I guess, in some way, where I'm like, well, I'm kind of over that these days. But there was a time where I watched every challenge.
Exactly.
And again, something that MTV did that I think that gets overlooked a lot is when they ran marathons. Like, that was before the time of Netflix. So, like, if you were behind on the challenge and you were like, they're going to do the first 6 all in a row.
You're going to catch up that day.
Right. Like, I mean, it was really cool in that regard. So, like, I really liked the challenge. I think it was cooler when it was more real world road rules people. But then eventually they just kind of ran out of people. So they're like, fresh meat, and we're going to have just random people. And I mean, it's fine. They have to refill their stock or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Shows that keep going on forever. But it wasn't quite the same. It's before the draw was the same thing with like a Marvel movie. It's like shared universe. I saw these people on the real world. And now
Exactly.
they're here. But yeah, challenge was cool. I mean, I don't think it's a horrible pick. It was definitely important, I would say.
For sure.
During our teenage years.
Yep.
My number 3 is a show that came on VH1. And it had one season, which was the saddest thing, but it was the White Rapper Show.
I guess I don't know it.
Oh, man. So we're going to try to figure out a way to get online and watch this. The premise, I mean, it's pretty simple.
I'm assuming
There's a bunch of white rappers.
Yep.
Every week, one was eliminated.
Okay.
And then at the end, there were 2 left, and they had a rap off, had to come up with songs, and then the people in the audience voted. And this dude, Shamrock, won.
Shamrock.
And he never did anything. So it launched no careers. No one came from
Oh, it
that
didn't
show.
help at all. Okay. I thought maybe this was going to be like someone's starting ground of this.
Right. And this
now.
came out before I really ever tried to write or rap. Definitely before I tried to write. I'm pretty sure before I even tried to rap, really. But I just remember some people were really bad on the show. Like, there were a couple people that have like a couple good lines here or there.
But, I mean, a lot of people can make a couple of good lines.
Like the guy who got second place, he got to the end. He was like, "I'll make a song called Car Wars, about the way that America's dependent on oil, and we're gonna try to make a difference." And he was like, "We're like the do-rag and militant clothing," and it was like a weird wide. And then the Shamrock dude was basically Powwow. Like that was what he was going for.
Not my son, the actual rapper.
Right, the rapper Powwow. And he had like a cool upbeat joint, so everyone voted for him or whatever, right? But I really enjoyed that show. I remember just really, really thoroughly enjoying it. They would send them off to like, you got to go out to the Bronx and freestyle at people's front doors. People would be like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I don't know if it is possible to find anymore. I'm sure they'll never try it again.
You never know.
MC
They may
Search
grab it
was
later.
the host, I believe, but oh man, show is super good. It probably shouldn't be number 3. I'm gonna should probably dropped it down, but I remember it very well.
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of MTV or VH1 reality shows that I wanted to include, but the list is only go to 5. So my number 2 is Impractical Jokers.
I figured it'd be up there.
I really like it. I mean, in order, I like Q, Joe, Sal, and Murr. I used to think Murr. I used to like him the most because I thought he was just picked on, but then I found he's just a total douchebag, just entirely.
He has a cool tattoo though.
Oh my God! With
The ferret
the
parachute.
ferret parachuting. At least he's not like Sal and has
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith on. That's right. Oh, that's so funny. But no, I just the things that they do crack me up. I I've always wanted to try what they do just to see if it would work. But like putting the balloons on people,
Right.
or stealing out of someone else's shopping cart. I don't know if you call it stealing because they haven't purchased it, but they grabbed it off of the shelf at least.
Right.
But just stuff like that I wanted to try and do, but I'm always like, nope, never gonna happen, because it gets really awkward sometimes with what they do with people. But Impractical Jokers is something that I didn't know if I would like when I first watched it, and then I just continuously watched it, and it's gotten better and better. Now, granted, they have gotten very well known, and now they have, major ads like Mountain Dew and all them, which they never had before. And some of their jokes are kind of like, okay, it's the exact same thing, guys.
Right.
You just change the title. But there are some funny ones. I remember one where they had a giant fishing hook. It wasn't really a fishing hook. It was just a big old plastic, look PVC almost. And their goal was to stop somebody. And they were in a mall, and on the second floor is where you're at, and you would drop this down to try to pick up their bags to then reel it back up to the second floor. Right. Like that is theft, but it is quite funny to see it, especially when they get people. They're like, have you ever watched that show Impractical Jokers? You guys remind me just like them.
Right.
Like that's one of the funnier ones to me.
Yeah. All right. So I really like Impractical Jokers. Like, there are moments through a lot of the shows I'm like, oh, that was super funny. Like Sal in the bingo hall.
Oh, that was so uncomfortable.
Right. Like, there's some really funny stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like True TV is burning them out super quick. Like, I'm over it. Like, I had not even cable, like PlayStation View, where I had True TV for like 6 months. And I've seen every episode of Impractical Jokers like 3 times because it's just always on.
Yeah, it is.
And they play it nonstop, and it gets to the point where like I'm kind of over it. Like, I love Q because I listen to Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast that he's on, but I feel like if they had more shows, they could give them a break. If they didn't have like 2 seasons a year and then go on tour and then show their tour. Like, I understand the show is pretty decent, but a lot of because they are rushed, they are reusing ideas. They're like, we're doing the balloon thing again. We're doing the throw something in their basket
and they
again.
Just changed the name of it, but it's the exact same.
Right. Whereas I think if they had a little bit of space, maybe they could think of new stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And I also understand them needing to film as much as possible for more people know about them, right? Like, the sooner they can film it, the more likely they can catch people off guard. I understand all that. But just with True TV being a new station, they found their hit and they were going to go with it. To me, they've probably ruined the longevity of what those comedians could have done together.
I mean, it's just like radio with songs.
Right.
Once a good song comes out, they will play it over and over and over and over again until you get sick and tired of it by the end of the week.
So, like, I don't hate Impractical Jokers. I think it's good. There are funny moments. But when I'm like, fuck, this show is on again. Because it's just always
After
on.
a while, it does get there, but any new ones I'll watch for sure.
I also really like the Carboni effect that comes on around it. It's pretty good too.
Carbonaro effect.
Carbonaro.
I have that as a shout out. But yeah, so Mo, what do you have as number 2?
All right, my number 2 is going to be Ink Master.
I figured that would be up there somewhere.
So I include like Ink Master and Face Off and the show you mentioned earlier, Forged in Fire. Mm-hmm. Like, those are all just chopped shows.
Yes.
Right. Well, I guess Forged in Fire and Chopped are different in the sense that, like, they're new contestants every week. Whereas in, like, Face Off and Ink Master, and I'm sure there's others in that vein, like, they're more like Master Chef, right? Mm-hmm. One of those shows. Like, every week someone's eliminated.
Yep.
Sort of thing. So I think any of those you can pick and choose, and they're almost the same show. Ink Master is cool because I like seeing people tattoo. I think it's pretty impressive when someone does something like a cool tattoo, right? And then I also always go to, like, who are these people that are volunteering to get tattooed? Now, they get a free tattoo, and 1 or 2 of them are probably going to be one of them, like a masterpiece.
But most of them are shitty.
But at least 1 or 2 are going to be bad.
Like, real bad.
Unless it's at the end, and even then, when they get to choose it themselves, it might not be something you want. Like, I've seen, like, a skinny girl get, like, a demon skull tattoo, and you can tell she didn't want it, right? So I really enjoy Ink Master. Like, when it comes out, I'm like, I watch every week, try to stay up on that. They try to switch it up every year. I think there's a lot of things about the show that's probably not good, but I really enjoy watching the Ink Master. They have all kinds of spin-off shows these days. I watch some. I was the close one. My wife loves Face Off. I think Face Off is different than like Ink Master in a little bit of a way. Like Ink Master, everyone's against everyone. Like there's a lot of behind the scenes, like everyone talking shit, and they show that. Whereas in Face Off is like everyone's super friends. Like even in the middle of their competition, if someone's struggling, other people will go help them. And I'm like, no, you gotta be cutthroat. So I think that's why I like Ink Master a little more. Is they're a little more aggressive, and I'm sure some people would disagree. Would like Face Off for the exact opposite reason.
For sure.
But that was my number 2. Now I'm guessing we have
the same number 1. I'm assuming, and that is Big Brother.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I know me and you have watched Big Brother from inception.
Yes.
Up until this past season. There have been some crazy seasons. I don't remember. I think her name was Brittany on the one where they start putting at the beginning of all their shows that CBS and Big Brother do not have the same views.
Her name was Erin.
Erin, thank you. That said we do not have the same views as the contestants inside of the house.
Right.
And she just thought that everyone loved her when she came out and seen
How
Julie.
did we not see that and be like, Trump's happening?
Oh my God, you're right. Should have seen it. And when she came out to see Julie Chen, the booze that she got,
Right.
and the reaction from the house, like, oh shit, why do they hate her? Why the hell do you think they hate her? She is such a racist.
Right.
Because I believe wasn't she on the same season as Helen?
No, I don't think so.
I just remember her hating on quite a few races. But I mean, I couldn't even. I mean, this would have to be something else. But I don't know who my favorite Big Brother person would be. I mean, Mike Boogie would be up there. Ian. But just in general, I watched it with my grandmother. I watched it with you for a long time. Now I watch it with Jill. It's just something that I look forward to. The only thing I am not looking forward to is this new season of Big Brother with the celebrity Big Brother. Seeing how it is, first off, they have not announced who the celebrities are.
Right.
When they did the initial announcement, these were like, I don't know if you even have this, but a D-class list of celebrities. Like, oh, it was a person in the back of Sharknado 4 that got eaten by a shark. Or something crazy like that.
Right.
But I love the competitions. Halfway through the season when tensions start to hit, or right at the very beginning if you have some of those people that just hate everybody, like Evil Dick. Name fits perfectly. Right. But that's my reason I watch, and I put Big Brother as my number 1.
Yeah. Me and my mom started watching in season 1, whenever that was, forever ago. I remember it being very weird because season 1's way different than the rest. Another thing, you can get CBS All Access to watch every season of Big Brother if you wanted to. I got CBS All Access during the season of Big Brother. I had to keep up with it, and they have like I said, they have every season of it, and it was really interesting going back and watching it. Like I watched season 2, which is one of my favorite seasons because Chilltown was the best, and Dr. Will's my favorite house guest ever. Ian would be number 2, but I really, really like Dr. Will. They had the All-Star season was real good in season 7 back in the day. I did not watch seasons, I think it was 11, 12, and 13. I know I missed the Jeff and Jordan season. For whatever reason, I missed those. I guess I went to college and just wasn't paying attention those first couple of years. And then we started watching it. My mom's always watched them all. My mom always watches Survivor. And that was kind of how I think a lot of people got into Big Brother. Is you watch Survivor and then it seemed the same, but Big Brother is way better than Survivor. Yeah, like I've been watching actually this season of Survivor just to do it. It is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, but Big Brother was cool because it airs 3 times a week. Yep. There's 1 live episode, so you like know where it's at. You can pay like for the CBS All Access and watch live camera feeds of the house at any time.
Or you could always watch this the Big Brother After Dark.
Right, they had the After Dark show. I mean, it's like an event of a reality show, and I really think that plays into it. Now, this last season sucked, in my opinion. I really didn't think it was their best. It was everyone just doing what one guy said the whole time.
The entire time.
But when they have good seasons, it's like the best there is of television. But they do have seasons where like they just didn't cast it right, and it's not great. So we'll see. Now, the Celebrity Big Brother is only available on CBS All Access. It will not be airing on CBS. So,
Oh, is it? I didn't know. I mean, I was just actually reading some of the people that have already said they will be part of this. I just lost it. Give me 1 second. Because there is somebody in here that, here she is. Her name is Michelle McCollum. Because it says who on all these people, because obviously these are not A-list or left. Who, and that is Notorious Drug Mule. That is who she is. So I'm already interested to see her on Big Brother. She served 3 years in a South American prison where 2 of the top 5 world worst prisons are at.
I think they need the cavity searcher before he comes in the house.
With friend Melissa Reed for trying to smuggle 11 kilograms of cocaine worth 1.5 million euros from Peru to Spain. But it's quite funny, some of these people that they have on here. There's one that who she is Simon Cowell's ex and BFF. And her name is Sinit. I don't know how to say your name. But I don't recognize any of these people. Some of these people are off of Love Island.
Are you sure this is the American Celebrity Big Brother?
Yep.
Because every year in Britain,
They have
in the
it in
UK,
Britain.
they have one.
Yeah. And that's what I was looking at. This is for the US. But I don't know. It just seems quite crazy that's who they are. But I love Big Brother. I can't wait for it to come on next year.
For sure.
This season was very funny for me with Paul, because he did run the entire house.
Yeah.
And he did not win because people just said, you know what? Fuck you, Paul. I'm not giving you the win.
Right. See, and I'm the person that, like, I look at the end of, like, no, who earned it, who deserves it, not who you like.
Yeah.
So I was a little bummed he didn't win, but then again, it was kind of cool because he so should have won, and it was so annoying watching him just run the whole house.
And he lost the same exact way he lost the previous season to Nicole.
Right.
To a 5-4 vote.
I mean, I'm all for people coming back. I just wish they would save it for all-star seasons.
Yeah.
And not have people come back on normal seasons.
I mean, like, one person I want to see come back is Derek.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the best players to ever play the game.
See, Koopy thinks that too, and I'm not saying he wasn't. And maybe it's because it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember at the time being like, yeah, he played a good game. He didn't get his hands dirty. But it didn't seem like he did anything that was like, oh, man, he is a good player. Which I know the opposite argument is that's what makes him a great player.
I was about to say.
But I don't know. Like, I would like to see him, I guess, with the best because I don't know if he was that good or if everyone else sucked.
Massive moves. And now, granted, one thing that he was great at is he was very good at convincing people that what he is saying is their idea.
Yeah.
Which is why he got to the end with
I just want to see
Cody.
Ian come back because he was the best.
He was so... Whenever we would watch the Big Brother live feeds, and he would just sit there and talk, well, on season 8 on this one competition, and he just could rattle everything off.
Right, and he knew everything that happened in his season. Like,
He was...
I don't know,
there was
I really
a reason
liked
he
him.
won. I just remember the very first day he wanted to lay underneath the table
yeah.
so that he could say, and I was like, man, this dude's weird.
Well, and he took out Mike Boogie, and that was cool.
And then he said, get to stepping as
Yeah.
he walked out.
It was great.
And when he goes out in interviews with Julie Sheen, he goes, I get it now. I can't hate on him for it.
Right.
And it's like, yes, he did it to further his game. But it's a great show. If you have never watched it, you can start watching any of the previous ones on CBS All Access.
Well, we were watching season 2, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Something I totally forgot about. This guy and this girl get drunk, and the guy picks up a knife, and the girl's like, hold it to my neck. And they're like drunk, and they're getting like weird and sexual about slitting her throat. And then they kick the guy off. And I was like, what? From what I just watched,
it was on
both of them.
Yeah, not just one. It's on both.
But they're gonna give the show.
I mean, there was the guy whose brother was on Survivor. Russ, I think was.
Oh, who was it? Me and Kubi saw some the other day where, Cody and Jessica from this last season of Big Brother are going to be on Amazing Race.
Yes, I seen that.
So that'll be cool.
I mean,
I might watch Amazing Race.
Cody was one of the more dry,
He's one of my
funnier
favorite
people I've ever seen.
And you can vouch for me. Like, everyone else turned on him, and I actually liked him the whole way through.
You did, straight from the beginning.
I was like, I don't see.
I mean, it was just the awkwardness he would bring to a room. He goes, you're going to get kicked out.
Yeah.
And then just stop and stare.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he wasn't great, but he was.
I mean, and he never turned his back. after he got his actual alliance that he wanted to work with. It was just an all around. I thought it was a decent season last year. I did feel bad for Paul because I think he earned that to win. But in my opinion, you've been on Big Brother twice now. You've made it to finals twice. You don't get to go back on.
Agreed. All right, so Big Brother number 1. What are some honorable mentions?
So honorable mentions that I have is going to be, you already mentioned the Carbonaro effect, but something I really like is Guy Fieri's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Just because I like seeing all the different food, but Hell's Kitchen. I love Gordon Ramsay with his craziness.
Hell's Kitchen's probably my favorite of the cooking shows.
Yeah.
I just really like Gordon Ramsay for some reason.
He just goes off
And all of Food Network stuff are, I don't know what the right word is, but like they have their own feel to it, right? And Gordon Ramsay's on Fox, so he has his own style to do it or whatever. So I really like Hell's Kitchen, but I like a lot of cooking shows. I mean, there's a lot of cooking shows I'll just watch.
Yep.
Like I'm not against them at all. All right, I mentioned I want to talk about American Chopper. So
Yes.
American Chopper was the best. Like back in the day when it came out, the first season, I remember me and my dad watched it, and you were like, "Oh shit!" And then it finally ended. I think when we were in college. I was reading this thing about it the other day because I never knew really what happened behind the scenes. How one sued one, and then tried to get people off of the show, different things like that. Like apparently, it was crazy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
On that show.
I mean, Paul Sr. went nuts. He was ripping stuff off doors, throwing, and then you have Mikey, who's just this artist.
Mikey was the breakout star for sure.
I loved Mikey because he was just the stoner. That's what he was.
Right.
And the comic relief for sure.
That show was really good. I really liked that. Some other shows I liked. Bug Juice.
Bug Juice is a good one.
Bug Juice is probably the first reality show I really watched on Disney. I remember it made me want to go to a cool summer camp. Never did. But I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I really liked that one. Flavor of Love.
I was wondering if you were going to bring any of the Flavor of Love or the Bret Michaels
Rock of Love.
Rock of Love.
I think Flavor of Love is the best, obviously. I mean, Bret Michaels was pretty entertaining as well.
Yeah.
But what's funny is they all had like sequels and thirds. And you were like, no, the goal was that this person was going to find love on the first season. And then, their I Love New York spinoffs. It's basically everything in the Bachelor realm. I don't really personally like The Bachelor much, but I really liked Flavor of Love. I just really enjoyed that one at the time, so I had it on my honorable mentions.
For sure. I have Wife Swap down.
I do too.
I just remember that one, and you may know exactly what I'm talking about. She was kind of a bigger white lady, and she was all against it, and her
the devil
and stuff. And then when
she gave back, or they were like, "We'll take back the money."
And then they said they would give her the money to give liposuction. She goes, "Okay, I'm all good with it. I'll take the money now."
Right.
And it's like, okay, so since you got what you wanted, you're gonna be
there-
done with everyone else.
There's some really good wives. Wasn't there another show like Wife Swap, but just called something different?
There may have been, but I can't think.
I don't think of the other day, and I couldn't. Yeah, Wife Swap was good. Also, Super Nanny.
Super Nanny. That's
I don't
a
have
great
any
one.
kids, but like I would love watch Super Nanny. I'd be like, yeah, that seems like the way you should handle that.
And then she'd leave the cameras and then judge the parents.
Right.
And it was just so funny to watch her do it.
Another one I have here is Hoarders.
Hoarders is a good one.
I really liked Hoarders when it first came out because I was like, I know people like this.
Yeah.
Also really like, and it might be a show you might not have seen. I think it was a VH1 show called Hollywood, and it was 3-6 Mafia moving to Hollywood after they lost and shit in Hollywood, and it's kind of, and like DJ Paul doesn't have an arm, like one of his arms are fake, and you didn't know it until that show. At least I didn't. And Juicy J's great, but he was acting crazy, and then it was these two fat dudes that lived with them, Big Trey and someone else, maybe Project Pat, and then they just lived in this mansion. And I remember the one thing that'll always stick with me is the Big Trey dude had his girl come out from Memphis, and she was looking for whipped cream so they could play in the bedroom, and they didn't have any, so she took ranch dressing, put it in a bowl, and then put sugar in with it and stirred it up. Oh my
God, that's so nasty.
And then like Juicy J's like, what you doing with that? She's like, we gonna play with it. And she was a very large woman, and it was so funny. Like I want to say it only had one season, but I loved Hollywood. Like I remember it'd be like, I gotta check out 3-6 Mafia on this.
That's good. A few others I have here: American Idol.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not even good past the audition.
No, and that's why I was about to mention is I watched it through the auditions. to watch the people like, pants on the ground.
Yeah.
Or just those terrible people that did it so that they could try to get some fame because they are that bad. Plus, my dog, watching Randy Jackson was quite funny with Simon Cowell. Another one that I liked for a couple of seasons was Chris Angel Mind Freak.
Oh, yeah, that one actually was pretty good.
It was just...
I mean, I've always been David Blaine over Chris Angel.
Yep.
But I did like Chris Angel's Mind Freak.
I mean, there was one where he looks like he's impaled by a forklift. And just some of this is just, you can withstand a lot of pain.
Right.
Like when a semi ran over his stomach. That's just being able to take a freak load of pain.
Right.
But it was, or whenever they put the hooks in his back and flew him across the Grand Canyon or something nuts. But one that was on MTV that you probably watched was Yo Mama. With
Your Mama.
Wilmer Valderrama.
Your Mama.
Your Mama. It just cracked me up because you would have some people would have funny jokes, but you could just tell some of these people had wrote this down before they got here, looked on somewhere to get some jokes, and it was it was funny to me back then.
It was a really fun concept at the time.
At that time, it worked.
Another MTV show I think a lot is Pimp My Ride.
I was going to say Pimp My Ride with X to the Z Exhibit. Yeah. Which they still have now.
It's called West Coast Customs.
That's right. And
they just the Velocity channel.
They don't do anything that, like they used to, where they go and get these terrible beat up cars where people
a lot of the checking in on those cars for that show, they're like pieces of shit pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, one of two things. Either they've done a bad job or they took people who treated their cars like shit in the first place.
And they continue to treat them like shit, for sure. And then obviously I have to bring up his Cribs. Yeah, I just remember watching that when I was younger on MTV. But that rounds out just about all of my honorable mentions there.
All right. So the next topic we wanted to cover is there's this article on Cracked I found that I thought I would share, labeled 16 Amazing Things You Probably Didn't Know. So, Powwow, I'll let you start with number 16.
So, most of these are pretty freaking nuts. So, the first one is about Hermes. Ancient sculptures of Hermes are only of his head and his dick.
And on the picture, if you happen to find this article, so it's like a square Washington Monument type statue, right? Just four sides, except there was a bust of his head, and then there is a sculpture of his penis on the pillar.
I just find it crazy because then in 415 BC, a plague of, quote, herm choppers arose in Athens, where they chopped off his dick.
Yep.
It's just crazy to me. Those are the only two items.
Yeah.
No arms, no legs, nothing.
I've had a guess. I don't know a lot about him. I bet he was a very promiscuous
I'm going to go with that.
person. One of my favorite shows, Bob's Burgers. I actually knew this beforehand, but it was going to be about cannibalism. So the show was first pitched as a dark comedy where the restaurant would serve burgers made of human flesh to unsuspecting customers. And Fox said they didn't like that. They liked everything but that idea. I know also originally Tina was a boy named Daniel, I think, or they changed it to a girl. In the first episode, which is arguably their worst episode, it is actually the health inspectors there because of rumors that they are serving human flesh. So they kind of give like an ode
to
their original idea on the first episode.
Gotcha. All right, so number 14 is titled Anti-Vaxxers Have Existed as Long as Vaccines. When Edward Jenner introduced his smallpox vaccine in the early 1800s, critics claimed it caused all kinds of maladies, up to and including running around on all fours and acting like a cow. And they had celebrity endorsements.
Yeah, it's like Frederick Douglass, who were all anti-vaccine. Now, I get like really, I don't want to say passionate right word, but like these anti-vaccine people drive me nuts. Because I'm like, I mean, I'm all down for conspiracy theory, and so if you're like, they're doing this to us with that, but they have no proof. All the things they claim as proof is from a 1993 article that a month later the magazine was like, that was wrong. They didn't have research, so there's just no scientific evidence of any of the things that people claim. Like, I know people who have claimed, like, my nephew became autistic after they got a vaccine, and I'm like, or is it because the signs of autism hit around the same time that you have to get vaccines?
Yep.
And so that's why you think this. I don't know. It's like somewhat comforting to know it's always been there. No one has smallpox anymore, really. But then again, it's very frustrating that people are listening to Jenny McCarthy, with all of her scientific knowledge over something that's probably best left to scientists.
Yeah, that's her, Google doctrine.
Right. Number 13, it says Comcast billed customers for hurricane damage.
So messed up.
So it says in the wake of Hurricane Ike in 2008, 81 residents of Galveston, Texas found that Comcast was charging them for the damages to the cable equipment. And when the story hit the media, Comcast pledged to cover some of the cost.
Keyword there is some.
Right.
Not all.
And then it says they also pulled the same stunt to a couple in 2012 after Hurricane Sandy.
Because they didn't, learn their lesson. They just
we don't live in an area where Comcast is a thing, but from what I understand, they're the worst. Like, everything I've ever heard about them is bad.
To me, the show makes it worse there. Right. So, number 12 here.
The next one, you definitely should look up this article, by the way.
Yeah. So, I can't even get past the title. Flamethrower drones are used to clean power lines. So, maintenance workers in China don't need to climb poles to clean high voltage lines. They just burn the mostly plastic junk using drones fitted with the fucking flamethrowers. This is verbatim. I just find it crazy that we have drones.
Right. So the picture is a drone up around power lines with a flamethrower burning trash off power lines, just like it said, but it looks crazy when you see it.
It's pretty nuts.
All right, number 11. Powell, you said you knew this one previously. I wasn't aware. But it said Pablo Escobar left a legacy of feral hippos. After Escobar's death in 1993, the animals in his private zoo were seized and shipped off to other parts, but the Colombian government somehow missed the 4 hippos, a male and 3 females. Now neighboring villages have to deal with a big family of 4,000-pound inbred toothy maniacs.
Yeah, because they have a thing, I don't know, it may be on history of Pablo Escobar's, how he rose to his power and the zoo that he had. And this was talking about the hippos, and that government trying to seize these was just comical, and it just didn't happen. So now they're just floating around causing a shitload of damage.
Right.
Number 10 here is John Lennon got his iconic glasses from a movie. You can be excused for not seeing the 1967's anti-war comedy How I Won the War because it sucked. But Lennon liked his character's round glasses so much that he incorporated a similar eyewear style into his public persona. So those old-fashioned glasses never went out of style again.
Yeah, so basically the picture you have of John Lennon in glasses, he got it from a movie role he did.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. It says number 9, George Lucas blew up Alderaan to stay on budget. Now, you know me, I'm always like Star Wars overrated. So it says in an early Star Wars script, Alderaan was home to a Sith prison where Leia was held, but the budget didn't allow for it, so Lucas cut all the Alderaan scenes and blew up the planet instead. So the Death Star got its detention level as a cheaper substitute. So I don't think Star Wars is bad, but everyone's like, he has this plan, grand vision, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, he doesn't, because Luke and Leia kissed in the first one, and then all of a sudden they're brother and sister, and I don't think he knew that when he first wrote it. Also, guess what? Darth Vader means Dark Father in German. So wasn't that big of a twist and reveal. Yeah. Anyway.
For sure. So number 8 here is Stan Lee is the highest grossing actor ever. Good old Stan has been doing cameos in Marvel movies since before they were watchable because he has popped in so many blockbusters. His combined box office is over $8 billion. It says the secret to Hollywood financial success is just to be in about any movie they let you, which seems like the rock.
See, it is surprising it's so high because he isn't such a small part of them. I didn't feel like they'd pay him that much money.
But $8 billion, that's pretty insane. Now this next one, Mo, scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I figured it would. It says some UFO sightings are caused by airborne spiders. So this is in October of 1954, a slow, glittery UFO was sighted over Florence, Italy, in a wispy lake. Such sticky, fragile stuff referred to as angel hair has described as cobwebs. Around that time of the year, bunches of spiders migrate using webs linked together as cells.
Yeah, that's why I hate spiders.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. This next one is quite frightening, honestly. The launch codes for many U.S. nuclear missiles was 00000000. At the height of the Cold War, nuclear ICBMs couldn't be launched without entering an 8-digit code, but many generals in charge set the codes to a string of 8 zeros. They were afraid they wouldn't be able to track down the codes quick enough if the need arose.
Makes sense.
So just put it where easiest code in the world.
I mean, that is crazy. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't a time like we weren't living in a world of one uppercase, one special character, and a number. So I understand how it happens.
For sure.
All right, number 5 says all cruise ships have onboard morgues. So it's actually comforting when you think about it. If you died during a cruise, keeping your body in a morgue is a much better plan than feeding it to barracudas, is what it says here. It says crews have codes in place, such as Operation Rising Star, to talk about such eventualities.
So I know that if I ever get on a cruise ship and I hear Operation Rising Star, someone has died.
Yep.
All right. So number 4 is parachuting dogs fought in World War II. British paradogs were absolutely a thing during the invasion of Normandy by the Allied forces in 1944. Trained to leap off airplanes or allow themselves to be thrown, the dogs proved their value by sniffing out mines, explosive, and Nazis. Feel free to pretend the D in D-Day stands for dog. That's just nuts.
Number 3, it says several iconic love songs are about the same woman. So Eric Clapton's Wonderful Tonight and Layla, as well as the Beatles' Something, were written for Patty Boyd, who is married to both Clapton and George Harrison. Ronnie Wood's Mystifies Me and Breath on Me are about her as well. So basically, this one woman just dated a lot of rock stars, got a lot of songs about her.
Yeah, so anyone who's needing a job, this next one's going to be for you. Pet food taster is a job that exists. How do pet food manufacturers know their product tastes good? Why, they have people on payroll whose job is to make sure of it. Yes, with their taste buds, some even admit to preferring one kind of pet food over another. A qualified kibble cruncher can earn upwards of $60,000 per year.
Yeah, I mean, I would do it.
You know what I'm saying? That amount of money, I might think about eating some dog food.
For sure. All right, number 1, it says Napoleon's penis is under some guy's bed in New Jersey. So when Napoleon died, his doctor wanted to return at least part of him home and chopped off his dick. It eventually ended up exposed in Pennsylvania with audiences mocking its sorry state. A New Jersey urologist bought it to spare it any more indignity and kept it in a briefcase under his bed.
That's just crazy to me.
That is crazy.
I will tag this article on the Facebook post whenever we post for this podcast. Definitely check it out. It is pretty crazy.
All right, so I think that's pretty much episode 10 this week. Do we know what our top 5 for next week is?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, let's see here. It looks like it's top 5 favorite movies as a kid. So that one will be really tough.
That's going to be tough. I know one.
Again, I'm going to probably say like 12 and under.
Yeah. I mean, I watched one that we watched together and we were living together. We'll talk about next week.
Oh, that goddamn movie.
All right, and as always, if you guys have comments, questions, suggestions, or corrections, please email us at thepowwowwithmo@gmail.com. That is THEPLWWOWWITHMO@gmail.com.
All right, and please like, subscribe, tell people, email us, all that awesome shit.
For sure. Peace.
Peace.